Yingning, among the numerous characters in Strange Stories from a Chinese Studio, by Pu Songling, was particularly favored by Pu Songling himself. It encapsulates the author's fantasies about feudal women. Prince Wang Fu was from Luodian in Jiuzhou. His father died when he was young. He was exceptionally bright and became a scholar at the age of 14. His mother doted on him and rarely let him venture into the countryside. An engagement was arranged for him with a woman surnamed Zhao, who died before they could be married, leaving him single. On the Lantern Festival, his cousin Wu Sheng invited him to enjoy the lanterns. But Wu Sheng was called back by his servants just after they left the village. Wang Fu, seeing many young women around, decided to explore on his own. He came across a young woman, accompanied by a maidservant, holding a plum blossom in her hand, her beauty unparalleled, with a captivating smile. Wang Fu was captivated by the young woman's gaze, completely forgetting his status. As the young woman walked past him, she turned to her maidservant and said, "Look at that young man, his gaze is so intense, like a thief." She tossed the plum blossom to the ground and walked away with her maidservant laughing. Wang Fu picked up the plum blossom, feeling lost and disheartened, as if he had lost his soul. He returned home, hid the flower under his pillow, and went to sleep without eating, drinking, or speaking. Worried about his condition, his mother arranged for monks and Taoist priests to perform rituals to drive away evil spirits. However, Wang Fu's condition worsened, and he became increasingly emaciated. Doctors examined him, prescribed medicine to dispel the illness, but Wang Fu remained in a daze. His mother gently inquired about his troubles, but Wang Fu remained silent. When Wu Sheng arrived, his mother instructed him to secretly investigate the cause of Wang Fu's illness. Wu Sheng approached Wang Fu's bedside, and upon seeing him, Wang Fu burst into tears. Wu Sheng comforted him and coaxed him to reveal his worries. Wang Fu confessed everything and pleaded for help. Wu Sheng laughed and said, "You are too infatuated. What's so difficult about fulfilling this wish? I will help you find her. If she roams the countryside on foot, she must not be from a wealthy family. If she is not already promised to someone else, things are simple. Even if she is, we can spend a little more money and likely achieve our goal. Just focus on recovering your health, and leave the rest to me." Wang Fu couldn't help but smile upon hearing this. After Wu Sheng left, he confided in Wang Fu's mother about the situation, and then began searching for the whereabouts of the young woman. However, no matter how hard they searched, they could not find any trace of her. Wang Fu's mother was extremely worried, but there was nothing they could do. Nevertheless, since Wu Sheng's visit, Wang Fu's demeanor improved slightly, and he managed to eat a little. A few days later, Wu Sheng returned, and Wang Fu inquired about the progress. Wu Sheng lied, "I found her. Guess who she is? She's my aunt's daughter, your cousin, and she's currently waiting to be married. Although marrying close relatives is taboo, to be honest, there's no other way." Wang Fu's face lit up with joy as he asked, "Where does she live?" Wu Sheng made up a location. "She lives in the southwest mountains, about 30 miles from here." Wang Fu repeatedly urged him, and Wu Sheng readily agreed and then left. From then on, Wang Fu's appetite gradually returned, and his health improved day by day. When he checked under his pillow, the plum blossom, though withered, had not yet fallen. Wang Fu gazed at it, lost in thought, as if he was seeing the young woman. Frustrated by Wu Sheng's absence, he wrote a letter summoning him. Wu Sheng evaded and made excuses, avoiding meeting him, which made Wang Fu both angry and resentful, leading to melancholy. Concerned that his old illness might return, his mother quickly arranged marriage matters for him. However, every time she discussed it with him, he shook his head and refused, longing for Wu Sheng's arrival. With no word from Wu Sheng, Wang Fu's resentment grew stronger. Yet, upon reflection, he realized that 30 miles wasn't too far, and there was no need to rely on others. So, he placed the withered plum blossom in his sleeve, gathered his courage, and decided to go by himself, without anyone at home knowing. Wang Zifu set out alone on his journey, walking all by himself. He didn't encounter anyone to ask for directions along the way. He continued southward towards the mountains. After walking for about 30 miles, He saw a range of mountains with lush forests, serene valleys, and an absence of human activity. Only a narrow winding path could be seen. Looking towards the end of the valley, amidst the tangle of flowers and trees, a small village was faintly visible. Descending from the mountains into the village, he noticed a few houses, all simple thatched huts, exuding an enchanting tranquility. To the north, one house stood out, surrounded by weeping willows at its entrance. Peach and apricot trees flourished within its walls, and a grove of bamboo grew in the center, where wild birds sang. Wang Zifu speculated that this must be someone's garden and hesitated to enter without permission. He looked across at the opposite house, and noticed a large smooth stone by the doorway. He decided to sit on it and rest. After a while, he heard a woman's voice from within the courtyard calling out, "Zhaorong," in a melodious tone. Just as he focused on this sound, a young woman approached from the east to the west, holding an apricot blossom and lowering her head, seemingly about to place it in her hair. When she looked up and saw Wang Zifu, she stopped and didn't insert the flower. Instead, she smiled and delicately tucked it away. Wang Zifu observed this young woman carefully and recognized her as the one he had encountered during the Lantern Festival outing. He was thrilled, but he struggled with the lack of an excuse to approach her. He considered calling out to her aunt, but he had never interacted with her aunt and feared making a mistake. There was no one to ask within the courtyard, and Wang Zifu felt uncertain neither standing nor sitting. His mind was restless as he walked around, hoping someone from the house would come out. He even forgot about his hunger and thirst. At that moment, the young woman peeked half her face through the door's crack, seeming curious as to why Wang Zifu hadn't left. Suddenly, an elderly woman emerged, leaning on a cane. She addressed Wang Zifu, "Young man, where are you from? I've heard you've been here since morning, and you're still here until now. What are you planning to do? Are you hungry?" Wang Zifu quickly stood up and bowed, replying, "I'm waiting to find my relatives." The elderly woman had some hearing difficulties and didn't catch his words. Wang Zifu spoke louder, and this time she heard, asking, "What's your relative's surname?" Wang Zifu couldn't answer. The elderly woman chuckled and said, "How strange. If you don't even know the name, how can you find your relative? You must be a bookish type. Why don't you come inside, have some simple tea and food, and rest for the night? Tomorrow, when you find out the surname, you can come visit." Wang Zifu was hungry and, more importantly, could get closer to the beautiful girl, so he was delighted. He followed the elderly woman inside and saw a path paved with white stones, bordered by bright red flowers, their petals scattered on the steps. Walking along the stone path to the west, they passed through a small gate and entered an area full of bean trellises and flower frames. The elderly woman invited Wang Zifu into the living room, which had gleaming white walls that mirrored the windows. Delicate branches of crab-apple trees extended into the room, with the bedding and furniture spotless. Wang Zifu had just seated himself when someone peered in through the window from outside. The elderly woman called out, "Zhaorong, go prepare some food." A maidservant outside answered in a high-pitched voice. After a while, they started discussing their family backgrounds. The elderly woman asked, "Is your maternal family name Wu?" Wang Zifu replied, "Yes." The elderly woman exclaimed, "You're my nephew. Your mother is my younger sister. In recent years, due to poverty and lacking a son, we lost contact. My nephew has grown so big, and we don't even recognize each other." Wang Zifu said, "I came this time to see my aunt, but in my haste, I forgot the surname." The elderly woman said, "I'm surnamed Qin, and I never had children of my own. I adopted a girl born out of wedlock, whose mother remarried. She's intelligent, but lacks guidance and always laughs without a care. In a moment, I'll have her come and meet you." In no time at all, the maidservant had prepared a meal, featuring tender young chicken, a sumptuous feast. The elderly woman continuously urged Wang Zifu to eat more. After the meal, the maidservant came in to clear the table. The elderly woman said, "Ninggu, come in." The maidservant complied and left. After a while, faint laughter could be heard from outside the door. The elderly woman called out again, "Yingning, your cousin is here." Laughter persisted outside. The maidservant pushed Yingning in, who was still covering her mouth, laughing uncontrollably. The elderly woman shot her a stern look and said, "There's a guest here, stop giggling like that. What's gotten into you?" The girl stifled her laughter, stood to the side, and Wang Zifu gave her a courteous bow. The elderly woman said, "This is Wang Lang, your aunt's son." Family members not recognizing each other, how embarrassing for outsiders. Wang Zifu asked, "How old is the young lady?" The elderly woman didn't hear clearly, so Wang Zifu repeated the question. The girl burst into laughter again, unable to lift her head while doing so. The elderly woman told Wang Zifu, "See, I told you a lack of education would show. She's 16 years old, but acts like a silly child." Wang Zifu said, "She's a year younger than me." The elderly woman continued, "My nephew is 17 years old now, probably born in the year of the horse, right?" Wang Zifu nodded in agreement. The elderly woman inquired, "And who is my nephew's future wife?" Wang Zifu replied, "There isn't one yet." The elderly woman commented, "With my nephew's talent and looks, why hasn't he found a fiancé at 17? Yingning also doesn't have a suitor yet. The two of you would be a good match, but unfortunately, it's not suitable for cousins to marry." Wang Zifu remained silent, his eyes fixed on Yingning, hardly blinking. The maidservant whispered to the girl, "Look at how intense he's staring, just like a thief." The girl burst into laughter again, and said to the maidservant, "Let's go see if the jade peaches have bloomed." She suddenly stood up, covered her mouth with her sleeve, and walked out with quick, delicate steps. Only when she was outside did she burst into laughter. The elderly woman also stood up and asked the maidservant to prepare a bed for Wang Zifu's rest. She said to Wang Zifu, "It's not easy for my nephew to visit. It's best if you stay for 3 to 5 days, take your time, and then we'll send you back home. If you find the room stuffy, there's a small garden behind the house for relaxation, and there are books for reading." The next day, Wang Zifu turned to the back of the house and indeed found a half-acre garden. The fine grass resembled a green carpet, with willow catkins scattered on the path. Within the garden stood 3 grass huts, surrounded by clusters of flowers and trees. As he walked through the flowers, he heard a rustling sound above in the trees. Looking up, he saw Yingning in the tree, laughing heartily upon seeing Wang Zifu, nearly falling. Anxiously, Wang Zifu called out, "Stop laughing, be careful not to fall." Yingning continued to laugh while descending from the tree, unable to suppress her laughter. Just before reaching the ground, she slipped and fell. Only then did her laughter cease. Wang Zifu rushed to help her up, discreetly pinching her wrist. Yingning burst into laughter again, laughing so much that she had to lean against a tree and couldn't move for a while. Once Yingning had laughed enough, Wang Zifu took a plum blossom from his sleeve to show her. Yingning took it, and said, "It's all withered. Why keep it?" Wang Zifu replied, "This was thrown by you on Lantern Festival, so I've kept it all this time." Yingning asked, "What's the point of keeping it?" Wang Zifu said, "It's a symbol of a love that's not forgotten. Since we met on Lantern Festival and I fell ill from deep thoughts, I thought I might not survive. I never expected that today I would see your face again. I hope you can show mercy and pity me." Yingning said, "This is nothing at all. What's there to be hesitant about with relatives? When your brother leaves, just ask an old servant to pick a bunch of flowers from the garden and take them back with you." Wang Zifu asked, "Are you naive?" Yingning asked, "Why would you say that?" Wang Zifu said, "It's not the flowers I love, it's the person who plucks them." Yingning said, "What's the difference? Love between relatives needs no explanation." Wang Zifu said, "The love I'm talking about isn't the love between relatives, it's the kind of love between a husband and wife." Yingning said, "What's the difference?" Wang Zifu said, "We'd share the same bed at night." Yingning lowered her head in deep thought for a long time, and said, "I'm not used to sleeping with strangers." Before she could finish her sentence, the maidservant came quietly. Wang Zifu anxiously moved away. After a while, Wang Zifu and Yingning met again in the elderly woman's room. The elderly woman asked Yingning, "Where did you both go?" Yingning replied that they were chatting together in the garden. The elderly woman questioned, "The food has been ready for a while. Why did you keep talking for so long?" Yingning said, "Big brother wants to sleep with me." Before Yingning could finish her sentence, Wang Zifu became extremely embarrassed and quickly gave her a stern look. Yingning then gave a faint smile and stopped talking. Fortunately, the elderly woman's hearing was impaired, so she continued to ask questions without realizing it, and Wang Zifu used other topics to divert her attention. Because of this incident, Wang Zifu quietly scolded Yingning, and she responded, "Shouldn't I have said that?" Wang Zifu said, "Those are things you don't say out loud." Yingning said, "Why not? Besides, sleeping together is a normal thing. Why avoid suspicion?" Wang Zifu truly hated her foolishness, but there was no way to make her understand. Soon after finishing the meal, someone from Wang Zifu's family came with 2 donkeys to find him. It turned out that Wang Zifu's mother had started to worry when he didn't return for a long time. She had searched the village, but he was nowhere to be found. So, she went to ask Wu Sheng for information. Remembering what he had said before, Wu Sheng sent someone to search for Wang Zifu in the southwestern mountain village. After passing through several villages, they finally arrived here. Just as Wang Zifu was leaving, he ran into the search party. So he went in to inform the elderly woman and asked to bring Yingning back with him. The elderly woman happily said, "I've had this idea for a while. It's not something sudden. It's just that I'm old and can't travel far. If my nephew can take his little sister back home and meet his aunt, that's wonderful." After speaking, she called for Yingning, who came in smiling. The elderly woman said, "What's the happy occasion? You're laughing endlessly. If you could just get rid of this habit of laughing all the time, you'd be a perfect person." She glared at her angrily, then continued, "Big brother plans to take you back. Go get ready." The elderly woman also treated Wang Zifu's family members to food and drinks before seeing them off, instructing Yingning, "Your aunt's family is wealthy, and they can afford to support a few idle people. When you get there, there's no need to hurry back. Learn a bit about poetry, rituals, and etiquette. It'll be good for taking care of your future in-laws. By the way, trouble your aunt to find you a good husband." After hearing the instructions, Wang Zifu and Yingning set out on their journey. As they walked through the mountain pass, they looked back and faintly saw the elderly woman still leaning against the door, gazing towards the north. Upon arriving home, Wang Zifu's mother saw a very beautiful girl and asked who she was. Wang Zifu said she was his aunt's daughter. His mother said, "Those words Wu Lang told you before were lies. I don't have a sister, so where would I get a niece from?" She also questioned Yingning, who replied, "I'm not this mother's child. My father's surname is Qin. He died when I was still in swaddling clothes, so I don't remember anything." Wang's mother said, "I did have a sister who married into the Qin family, that's true. However, she died a long time ago. How could she still be alive?" She then carefully inquired about Yingning's mother's features, and her moles and freckles, all of which matched her sister's characteristics. Suspicion grew, and she said with a heavy heart, "It's impossible. Even though it's been many years since her death, how could she still be alive?" Just as she was doubting, Wu Sheng arrived, and Yingning hid in the inner room. Wu Sheng inquired about the situation, but he was perplexed for a long time. Suddenly he asked, "Is this girl named Yingning?" Wang Zifu confirmed, and Wu Sheng was astonished. Wang Zifu asked Wu Sheng what he knew, and Wu Sheng said, "After my aunt's death, my uncle lived alone and became infatuated with a fox spirit. Later, he died of illness. The fox spirit gave birth to a daughter named Yingning and placed her on a bed wrapped in a mat. Everyone in the family saw her. After my uncle died, the fox spirit still came often. Later, Zhang Tianxi was invited to paste talismans on the walls, and only then did the fox spirit take Yingning away. Could it be her? No one could be certain about this matter." Laughter could be heard from the inner room. Wang's mother said, "This girl is so naive." Wu Sheng wanted to see Yingning. Wang's mother entered the inner room, and Yingning was still laughing foolishly. Wang's mother urged her to come out and meet the guests. Yingning resisted her laughter, stood facing the wall and remained calm for a while before coming out. As soon as she came out, she bowed to Wu Sheng and quickly turned around to run back, bursting into laughter. The whole room was filled with the laughter of women. Wu Sheng proposed to go to Yingning's home to see what was happening and to act as a matchmaker for Wang Zifu. When they reached that mountain village, they found no houses, only withered petals scattered on the ground. Wu Sheng thought the place where his aunt was buried seemed to be nearby. But the grave was unrecognizable due to neglect, so he returned, puzzled and astonished. When Wang's mother heard about this, she suspected encountering a ghost and shared Wu Sheng's words with Yingning. Yet, Yingning wasn't scared at all. She also pitied her for being homeless, but she didn't seem to feel sorrow herself. She just continued to laugh foolishly without pause. Everyone was baffled by her behavior. Wang's mother had Yingning live with her and her youngest daughter. Every day, Yingning would come early to pay her respects to Wang's mother and skillfully engage in sewing activities. Though she loved to laugh, her elegance during her moments of playfulness, even during her laughter, didn't diminish her charm. Everyone adored her. The women and girls in the neighborhood all wanted to be friends with her. Wang's mother chose an auspicious day to prepare for the two to get married. But she constantly feared that Yingning was some kind of supernatural creature. Later, she secretly observed Yingning's shadow under the sun and found it to be just like that of an ordinary person. On the chosen day, Yingning dressed as a bride, but her excessive laughter prevented her from completing the ceremony, so they had to stop. Due to Yingning's simplicity and silliness, Wang Zifu worried that she might inadvertently reveal their private matters to others. However, she guarded their secret closely and never mentioned it. Whenever Wang's mother felt distressed or angry, Yingning's presence and a smile from her were enough to dissolve the tension. If a servant or maid made a minor mistake and was afraid of punishment, they would ask Yingning to talk to Wang's mother first before admitting their fault. This way, they could avoid punishment. Yingning was addicted to collecting flowers. Whenever relatives or friends had nice flowers, she would gather them. Sometimes she even secretly pawned her golden hairpins and jewelry to buy better flower varieties. After a few months, every part of the courtyard, including both sides of the steps and the area around the latrine, was covered in flowers. In the backyard, there was a wooden trellis near the neighbor's western wall. Yingning often climbed onto the trellis, plucked flowers, and adorned her head, or played with them indoors. Whenever Wang's mother saw this, she scolded her, but Yingning never changed. One day, the son of the neighbor to the west saw Yingning picking flowers on the trellis, and was enchanted by her appearance, staring at her intently. Yingning didn't avoid his gaze and continued to smile. The neighbor thought Yingning was interested in him, and he became even more enamored. Yingning pointed to the base of the wall with her finger and then went back inside while smiling. The neighbor thought she was indicating a meeting spot and was overjoyed. In the evening, the neighbor went to the designated place, and sure enough, Yingning was there. As he approached, he tried to assault her, but he suddenly felt a piercing pain in his lower body, as if he were being pricked by a needle. He cried out in pain and fell down. Upon closer inspection, he realized it wasn't Yingning, but a dried-up piece of wood lying by the wall. The pain was caused by a hole that had rotted from rainwater. The neighbor's father rushed over when he heard the scream and inquired about the situation, but his son only groaned and didn't speak. It was only when his wife arrived that he explained what had happened. They lit a fire to examine the hole and found a large scorpion inside, about the size of a small crab. The neighbor's father split the wood and killed the scorpion. They then carried the son back home, but he died in the middle of the night. The neighbor's family reported Wang Zifu and accused Yingning of practicing witchcraft. The local official usually admired Wang Zifu's learning and knew him as an upright scholar. He determined that the neighbor was making false accusations and was about to administer a caning punishment. Wang Zifu pleaded on behalf of the neighbor and managed to get him released from bondage, after which they were driven away. Afterward, Wang's mother told Yingning, "Seeing you act so simple and foolish, I knew that excessive joy conceals hidden dangers. Luckily, the local official saw through it, and you weren't implicated. If you had encountered a confused magistrate, they would have dragged you to court to cross-examine you. What face would my son have left to see relatives and friends?" Yingning put on a serious expression and promised never to laugh again. Wang's mother said, "People are meant to laugh. You just need to control it sometimes." From then on, Yingning never laughed again, even if someone tried to amuse her. However, she also didn't display a sorrowful expression all day. One evening, Yingning burst into tears and mucus in front of Wang Zifu. He was quite surprised. Sobbing, Yingning said, "In the past, I didn't reveal this because it might have scared and startled you due to its unusual nature. But now I see that both you and my mother-in-law care for me dearly, without any ill intentions. So, perhaps it's not harmful to tell the truth? I was born as a fox. When my mother left, she entrusted me to a ghostly mother. And we've lived together for over a decade, leading to where we are today. I have no siblings to rely on except for you. My birth mother suffered solitude and hardships in the mountains, and couldn't find anyone to pity her, to bury her body and be laid to rest with her. Her grievances must be countless in the netherworld. If you're willing to go through the trouble and expense, you could ease the pain of the spirits below. Maybe this could stop people from drowning and abandoning their daughters." Wang Zifu agreed to Yingning's request, though he worried about finding the grave amidst the overgrown grass. However, Yingning assured him not to worry. They picked a date and set out with a carriage carrying the coffin. In the wild grass that stretched as far as the eye could see, Yingning directed them to the grave's location. They eventually found Wang's mother's body still intact. Yingning sobbed and mourned over the body. Later, they brought Wang's mother's remains back and found the burial site for the Qin family, where they were laid to rest together. That night, Wang Zifu dreamt that Wang's mother came to express her gratitude. Upon waking, he shared the dream with Yingning. She said, "I also saw her last night, and advised her not to frighten you." Wang Zifu regretted not asking her to stay longer. Yingning said, "She's a spirit. There are many living people here, and the energy is strong. She couldn't stay for long." Wang Zifu also asked about Xiaorong, and Yingning said, "She's also a fox, very clever. The fox mother left her to take care of me, often feeding me. I'll always remember her kindness." I asked the ghost mother yesterday, and she said Xiaorong is already married. From then on, every year on Qingming Festival, Wang Zifu and his wife would visit the Qin family's grave, never failing to pay respects and perform tomb-sweeping rites. After a year, Yingning gave birth to a son who was not afraid of strangers and would laugh when he saw people. He inherited his mother's demeanor. Yi Shishi commented, "Yingning's seemingly carefree, chirpy smile makes her appear thoughtless. However, her playful antics by the wall also demonstrate her cunning and cleverness." As for her profound longing for her ghostly mother, a stark contrast from wild laughter to heart-rending sobs. My Yingning probably uses laughter to conceal her true feelings. I've heard that there's a type of grass in the mountains called laughter-inducing grass. When people smell it, they can't stop laughing. If a plant of this grass were placed in a room, it would outshine mimosa and forget-me-nots. And as for the language-understanding flower, its coquettish behavior is truly repugnant.